All right, what's up, y'all? Oh my heavens. Today's the 20th of August, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of InTheImageClothingCompany. This is our main side. This video is actually titled The Importance of Even Elbow Extension, okay? We've got at the elbows contraction all the way closed at the joint, and then we've got extension all the way open at the elbow joint. Okay, so we are going to get into this. We have four sides to us. In the Image Clothing Company, I'll talk about each of the four briefly as I do. We'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll get into talking about the elbows. I've made videos about the elbows and mostly the fact that we get across the earth scar tissue in our right elbows, okay? And then that extension isn't there fully, and that contraction is altered fully, okay? And I've got videos talking about the elbows, as I said, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site, but we will talk about the importance of even extension on each elbow and how that really affects the whole body, where it's coming from, how to address it, why it really is clothing, how clothing really is the only fix for human beings' physical problems, okay? So, the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, okay? We talk about the anatomy of the human body in depth. We allow the human body to work. You can actually never train the human being. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. As I say, everything in the body, joint-wise, because it is about the skeletal system, just has a neutral position that it has to reside in, always. The human body has a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, which naturally stabilizes the entire body on Earth's gravity, okay? So, we place clothing on us and it has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll discuss here in a minute, be made from 100% natural materials because our bodies are as well. And so the clothing placed on us material-wise can alter the body just as much as physical weight or size imbalances. Stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work, because muscles only contract, okay? So lots of things we talk about, as well as eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, all the things we do as a human being. We're doing it within clothing and through clothing, if you will. So it really is extremely important, okay? We give free modifications in clothing, but in the Image Clothing Company, clothing, okay? Always doing the three things is really the main point: staying centered, fitting correct, and being made from 100% natural materials. And that's how we allow the body to work, okay? So we've got another fourth of us. Similar things get had over there, okay? I mostly discuss on In the Image Clothing Company music the sizing and setup of guitars, okay? To not alter the body, to keep our bodies working, fine little motor skills in our hands, travel through our whole body. I say it like this because it's the case. The hands are essentially the shoulders, okay? As the feet are essentially the hips. The whole body is just all together, and it can only ever work activated as a whole. So, guitars, okay? I also place music on In the Image Clothing Company music that I've made. We give a lot of information, things about singing and keeping the body in a proper position when we do any musical anything. Singing itself is just a physical thing, right? And I do a lot of lyricism stuff, okay? Geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ, and it's really cool. Metronome madness, right? One of the things. So we also have In the Image Clothing Company poodles, and we specialize in purebred standard poodles. We do the same thing we do for human beings, but for dogs. In a modern man-made world, we let dogs stay natural, like allowing the human body to work. Through collars, leashes, harnesses, anything placed onto dogs, they need to stay centered and balanced and fit, and weight needs to be minimal to allow the dogs to stay unaltered. We also talk about feeding dogs, rehydrating kibble, how to keep your dog hydrated in general, and lots of things, okay? We breed purebred standard poodles, advocate for doing so, advocate for registering your dogs, okay? Giving your dog a birth certificate keeps less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. We do a lot of things, as well as in-person events here in the state of Utah, the United States of America. We've got beautiful mountains, we've got parks and rivers and lakes and all sorts of places. We will have poodle parade events. Bring your purebred poodles of any size or your poodle mixes of any size And just check scheduling, okay, InTheImageClothingCompany.com, where you can find dog products as well, okay, that apply to all dogs. Same intent behind human being clothing. But a lot of information will be given at Poodle Parade events on letting dogs stay natural. We'll also just hang out, have a good time. So come check it out, okay? And then in the Image Clothing Company podcast, we have 155 episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. As of the latest one that we filmed, we get into deep discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. You don't have to be religious, because I'm not. But we all are human beings. We're all the same, placed on the same earth with one God. We discuss him there to the best of what we can, as he says that he is. And it's really cool, okay? So, clothing for everybody has to sit in the same location. If you are a man or woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period, to ever be, you're a human being. And pants have to be unrestricting our hips. So they have to be entirely above our hips, the waistline of our pants, which is at our natural waist, above the hip bones and below the lowest ribs. With our pants in that location, we can move, and that's ideal. But then we need to keep the front of the waistband slightly higher than the rear, because our only neutral location on Earth's gravity to just keep the body working as a whole, the only way that it does, that's how it needs to be, okay? Then our musculature can stay activated, okay? Now, we have tops that we wear, and tops have seams that need to be evenly behind the peak of the shoulders. Button-ups have a banded material that naturally just sits back there. But t-shirts, things like the dreaded collar seam modification under In the Image Clothing Company, if there is a seam in the collar, well, that collar has to stay centered, which is also a video we have under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Okay, keeping collars centered, it's huge. Okay, it's a must. Then, the edges of our tops, the seams should just be as close as we can get right to the edges of the functionality of our shoulder, okay? Because that's where it functions, and it's a joint of a body part, the arm, and then the bones that make up the shoulder from the torso, as well as a joint of material, okay, the sleeve and the top material. So there you go, two things we have as prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company to not restrict the body. They're not quite clothing, they're things that come secondary in a sense, okay? Firstly, weaving ropes across the top of the human feet. We call it shoelacing, but there's only one way to do it that doesn't alter the human feet, traveling to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers with those potential alterations. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, found wherever you can find our 5-word name as a whole, okay? And then we tie shoes as well, and they have to be tied evenly, meaning opposite, because there's two sides to the body. So shoes need to be tied evenly over toward the center line. And then, secondly, we remove all tags from clothing. Anywhere tags are placed in clothing just didn't even happen decades ago from today's date. But also, they're just causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or just not allowing musculature to activate. And then you've got compensation trying to happen in the body, and it can't compensate because everything has a role to play. Okay, that's why it's there. So let's get into this. The importance of even extension of the elbows, okay? Our elbows are right in between the two things that I say are the same thing, okay? The hands are essentially the shoulders. And really, what's between there is the elbow, okay? So, shout out to the wind noise, by the way, okay? In the Image Clothing Company. Raw and real. Here's the thing, the elbows need to be able to fully extend. I talk about full extension of the elbow and what that looks like, right? I've talked about it before, is what I'm saying under In the Image Clothing Company videos. But in order to fully extend our elbows, okay, but when they're at our sides down here, our arms need to be able to get all the way to our sides down here. Because if there's a gap, your elbow bends. It also rotates your forearm as well, okay? Because there's a lot of rotations in the forearm. It's the same as the lower leg, essentially, okay? We have a video titled The Forearm and the Lower Leg, and they're basically the same thing. Okay, where that shin is, down on our leg, between the ankle and the knee, it's like between the wrist and the elbow, okay? Two bones and they're rotating. So, well, we also have a video titled Internal Rotation of the Forearm, okay? And keeping short sleeves short. So all of these things go into the elbow and its ability or inability to fully extend. Now let's look at this. If we're reaching, okay, and let's say my right elbow here doesn't fully extend, but my left one does, what will happen? Well, I can't reach the same distance unless I extend my elbow all the way, okay? And if I can't extend my elbow all the way for the sake of scar tissue built up in the elbow, or things just in the way like sleeves or even sleeve cuffs on the hands here, okay? How sleeve cuffs affect body mechanics, okay, is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company as well. If anything's restricting the elbow's natural motion, natural movement, natural ability to work, then yeah, you'll just alter the whole chain is the point, okay? So you can't reach all the way. And so now it's not only your hand that gets altered, okay? And we've got a video titled Keeping Hands the Same Size, right? The importance of the same size hands. Yeah, gosh, that's nuts. So this is the thing, right? I talk about how the pinky finger affects the entire body. The pinky finger is the neutral wrist, okay? Straight out from the forearm, neutral wrist at the pinky. There you go, okay? And if our pinky fingers are altered, like you see some people's, right pinky fingers especially, sticking off to the side, okay, then our elbow will be altered, okay? Let's talk about this, because I do. This is kind of the point. This is really the point in a lot of ways, actually. We live in a right-handed world, okay? 85%, give or take, of the population of the earth are right-handed. If we have products being designed to be used, they'll be designed to be used if it's the majority of one hand doing it with the right hand, okay? Clothing patterns themselves are right-handed, placing the body off to the right side, more externally rotated, farther away from the body's center, and dropped, okay? As I say, and as we show under In The Image Clothing Company, okay? And it's just what happens. You see it in the world, you see it around you in our life on our earth. An oversized top, right, falling, and now your sleeve is sitting on your right forearm and not your left one. There you go, okay? Sleeves that are long on the hands, on the right one, but maybe not your left one. Okay, pant designs and the stitch that's in the rear, in the crotch, that comes down around, that just places the right pant cuff lower. Now your right foot arch can't activate, keeping those pinkies toes forward like the neutral wrist, okay? The hands and the feet are essentially the same thing, okay? The shoulders and the hips are essentially the same thing. We talk about it, okay, in depth. So this is the big thing, is that, yeah, we've got the hands and the feet, the wrists and the ankles, the forearms and the lower legs, the elbows and the knees, the upper arm and the upper leg, and then the shoulders and the hips. And we've got the spine connecting the two, okay? The human body is very simple, but we need to know how it works, otherwise we don't know how to allow it to, okay? So In The Image Clothing Company, we do, and we show it, okay? That's what I'm doing here. So, the elbow needs to fully extend. Listen to this. Man, scar tissue, okay? Scar tissue in the body, okay? A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Because of this right-handed world, knots in ropes, shoelaces tied to the right, okay? Drawstrings tied one side over the other, okay? So, these things place us into a right-handed patterning, okay? A lot of things in our lives. So, yeah, let's, this is a lot, okay. Yeah, we get scar tissue built up in the right side of the body, okay, as I say. The right pinky finger, the right forearm, the right elbow, the right pelvis crest, the right shin or lower leg, okay? These are some of the main areas. On the side of the nose, on the whole side of the face, the right ear, the sternocleidomastoid insertion up here right behind our ear, where this muscle is that just gets chronically overused, okay? The importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, very similar to this one, okay? So, the elbow, the winds of change. I love it. Shout out to Kung Fu Panda, the movie. Yeah, I think it's by Disney, pretty sure. So here's the thing. Our elbows need to be able to fully extend evenly. Darn, I just don't know how loud the wind is for sure. In the microphone, for the sake of, do I wait or do I just keep going? Okay. Picks up a little bit. Okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna keep talking. If it's kind of windy, it's kind of windy, but you can hear what I'm saying. You can throw subtitles on if you need to. It's about getting the information out. That's the point of these videos, okay? Not necessarily trying to have some high production value. So, our elbows can be affected by other things that aren't the elbow, okay? We don't have to have short sleeves directly on our elbow joint to affect them, but things like uneven shoes being tied to the right, okay? Or even laced unevenly left to right. Drawstrings tied over to the right, or either side, I guess, okay? You tie a drawstring out to the left, it'll affect your left elbow more, because that will just cause your pelvis to be in a position where it'll travel from your pelvis up to your elbow. This is what I mean. No matter what it is in clothing, any imbalance will just cause an imbalance through the whole body, and it'll go to the most extremes, right? That's where you'll notice it the most. Like in here, within my ranges of motion of my elbow, I'm probably not going to notice all that much alteration if my elbow is damaged by imbalances in clothing. But when you get out to the full extension, right, now you have to lock out all the way, okay? And in this position here, that's a lot of mechanics happening. Man, it's windy. It's windy. Because what you have when your elbow is fully extended is your bones all like really meshing together. That's why you can hear this. Okay? Because that's the bones actually like really locking into place and all getting right meshed with each other, okay? So this is the thing, is at that full extension, that's where, yeah, you have the least amount of room in there for scar tissue to be. Within range of motion, like between fully closed or fully extended, you've got some like room, if you will, some room to play in the elbow where there could be scar tissue, but functionality could still happen quite well. But when you get all the way to the full extension, it's just not going to happen if there's scar tissue in there, okay? And also, it's not going to be able to happen if your shoulder on one end of the elbow, okay, or your wrist on the other end of the elbow isn't able to be neutral. So that's what I mean, is anything in the body, even down to the toes, will come up and affect your elbow. Even from the tip of your head will come down and affect your elbow, like the sternocleidomastoid, right? And so, yeah, if we can't get our elbows fully extended evenly, then it'll travel now from the elbow to other things. So now you've got your shoulders not able to work all that naturally at all, and just imbalanced, right? Because it's coming from one of the elbows that's imbalanced. And so like I was showing earlier, if you can't reach evenly with your arms because your elbow can't fully extend, then your shoulder, okay, will be the thing that's taking the punishment, if you will, right? I mean, it's the thing that's really getting affected, well, your wrist as well, okay? So the big thing is we just need even extension on both sides. And that's only going to come if we can get both of our elbows evenly to rest with gravity right at our own sides, okay? So all the ropes, like I said, shoelaces, drawstrings, anything you're tying on or around the body has to be even, okay? If it's on opposing sides, they need to be opposite knots. If it's in the center, like the drawstring, then we've got In The Image Clothing Company's drawstring knot we use, okay, the slipped lap knot. Tie the tail end toward the center when you tie it, okay, and there you go. And now you've got an even waist, okay? But also, yeah, anything that's just not going to allow the body to be evenly opposing the center line, okay, the sternum, the bone here between our pectoral muscles, okay? It just needs to be even distance from the shoulder into the pectoral's insertion at the sternum, because there is an insertion for the pectoral at the shoulder as well, right? They just insert from out here to in here on the right, and from out here to in here on the left, okay? So we just need everything even, and then our elbows can just rest even because gravity just pulls straight down on everything that's on Earth, okay? And so that's the big thing, is even if there's nothing actually imbalanced besides like one thing, okay? Let's say you've got everything even in your clothing, shoes laced and tied correct in the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique, just the only way the human feet work, not our opinion. Nothing to do with us at all, other than we give the information of it, okay? You've got drawstrings tied evenly. You've got your pant cuffs off your feet/ankles. You've got your sleeve cuffs off your hands, or your short sleeves short enough to where your elbow can actually bend. You've got just all your clothing fitting you well, and your tops are waisted. Your pants are sitting in the correct location. Your shoulder seams are behind your shoulders evenly. Let's say just one of all of these things happens, okay? Well, and let me say a little bit farther too, furthering what I'm saying. Further is the word. Let's say your collar's centered, and you've got nothing in your pockets. Your stitches are evenly stitched all over the place. Let's say everything is actually even. There's no rotated seams, like in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, okay? You don't have zippers in your clothing. You don't have buttons causing discrepant weight-wise, left to right. And everything is just staying centered. You have one thing imbalanced, let's say. And it could be any one of those one things. And everything else could be even. But let's say your shirt's just slightly too wide for you, okay? So now you've got your shoulder seams just sitting off to the right. That's not only your shoulder seams that are off to the right. It's your whole top material that comes down around your rib cage, because that comes up, right? The top material on the side of our rib cage comes up and meets where the sleeve of the top is stitched under our armpit, and then it comes up, and that's the same thing as the edge shoulder seam, okay? So now you've got this gap, okay, between your rib cage and your elbow. We talk about it. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled Mind the Gap, and that's one of the many things I talked about, as well as a lot of things about the gospel of Jesus Christ, okay? We can't have any gaps, well, between our body and itself, but then also, especially uneven, right? And especially on the right, okay? Choose the right. Another episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and like I'm saying, it's the right side of the body that's so inhibited, okay? So the elbows need to fully extend. And so I talk about it, just getting the scar tissue out of the forearm, the pinky finger, the elbow, the whole right side of the body, to be able to actually extend it. Because if you can't get this outside of your arm to be able to have motion in it, then you can't actually fully extend your elbow, okay? There's so much that goes into this, and I've talked about it already in a lot of places, but the big thing is the importance of evenness left to right in the body, okay? Any rotations will do the same thing, because we have both internal and external rotation, right? And if one side is just more externally rotated, now look what gravity will do. When you pull down on something that's in a different rotation, because the bones that are causing the rotation have to mesh in the elbow and lock into place, okay, in their neutrals. See what I mean? Yeah. It's a wasp. Then your whole body's damaged. So that's why I say it. That's how it is what it is. I said it earlier. Clothing is the only fix for human beings' physical problems, because if you can't have your body residing in its only neutrals, okay, then your whole body's damaged, because it has to compensate, and it can't do that. Everything has to just do its only thing that it does. It's crazy. It's like, it takes it out of me, and you see it, you know, when I make these videos like this, because it's just so real. You know, we have videos titled "Workouts Don't Help the Jaw." Okay, well, that's one of them that we'll talk about, because our jaw has to stay centered as well. It stabilizes the whole body, and if it's out of its only center, the elbow will not be able to fully extend on the side that the jaw is going toward, okay? Because it'll just place the whole body off to the side, and then you've just got a gap anyway. If all your clothing was centered, but your jaw is imbalanced because you eat only with one hand, right? Eating and drinking with the left hand is a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We have to eat evenly, okay? We could have titled it, or we could do one titled, or it doesn't matter either way, but the importance of even hand eating, right? Just meaning we have these videos, the importance of even blank. And, you know, things on the left side and the right side of the body. So we have to keep our jaw centered to where our teeth will just mesh centered over gravity, and meshing with our body's center as well, the sternum and the spine, for example, okay? And so, yeah, well, I mean, you picture this, talking with your hands. If you have a gap here on the right side between your elbow and your rib cage, then you'll be over here, okay? And now where will your jaw be that's trying to keep you vertical, because the jaw's musculature goes from the lower jaw all the way up to the crown of the head, okay? And if your elbow's away from your side on the right, your whole spine will twist, your rib cage will expand differently left to right, and now your jaw will just still be forming words off to the right side of your body. And then there you go, right? Chronic patterning, just like that. Seriously. It's crazy. I mean, that's as real as it is. So, yeah, okay, as real as it gets in the Image Clothing Company, like I say. Now, here's the big point. That neutral is the only way we're ever going to have full extension. The only way you can ever actually fully just stand evenly, you don't want to lock your knees out, but with the ability to lock your knees out, is if your feet are pointing forward, okay? The only way you're ever going to actually have the ability to lock your elbows out is if your hands are pointing forward, okay? This is gonna bind on the left when it's more internal. It won't get quite fully extended, okay? And this is going to bind on the right side if it's more external. It won't get quite fully extended, okay? That's just how it is, because you've got two bones coming up into one bone, and they just are shaped on the ends in a way where they only mesh when everything's neutral, okay? Anyway, there you go, okay? Takes it out of me, bro. And this wind, too. It's windy. Dude, it's windy. So, there you go, okay? The dreaded collar seam modification. In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seams modification. The dreaded collar seam modification is in the Image Clothing Company's, by the way. But, man, you know, I mean, when we talk about modifying zippers, in the Image Clothing Company's zipper modification, okay? Anything in clothing at all that we talk about, because we talk about a lot of modifications, and there's a lot of things that are so commonly in, you know, we can even say the vast majority of clothing design nowadays that's just imbalanced. And so your elbows won't extend, and then that's the problem with the elbow being in between two major things, the hand and the shoulder. It's like the knees. People often have a lot of knee problems, but if you have a knee problem, it's probably coming from either your feet/ankles on that end of your knee, or from your hips on the other end of the knee. And so that's the thing with this elbow, except for things like an actual gap in clothing between the rib cage and the elbow, most everything that happens to the elbow, unless it's an injury, that could happen as well, but an injury is different than patterning anyway, besides the patterning that comes after the injury if it's not addressed properly and heals evenly, okay? What happens really is, like the knee, the elbow gets problems happening to it because of things that are not the elbow, okay? From the hands, maybe, okay? Not having fingernails long enough to keep your natural hand arches there, and not having shoes laced correct, allowing your feet arches to be there, that then travels up to allowing your hand arches to be there, okay? Lots of things in life, right? Involving the pinky finger, we talk about. It's a video we have, okay? Under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. If we can't involve our pinky fingers in what we do, then that being the neutral wrist, well, it just won't be anymore. And then that will just change the elbow, okay? There's a lot of things like this. Things not fitting in our hands because we live in a modern world where a lot of times people think bigger is better, and our hands are only the size that they are, and they have to actually close all the way and track in line the only way they could ever work, okay? And so there's a lot of things from the hand that will go up to the elbow. Then there's a lot of things from the shoulder that will come down to the elbow, right? Imbalanced shoulder seams because of things like the dreaded collar seam modification not being done. But that's why we call it the dreaded collar seam, because it imbalances your clothing in so many ways, and there's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? So just having the shoulder altered by anything, and it would be most directly from things like that, okay? Keeping collars centered. If they're not, now your shoulder's altered. It goes to your elbow, okay? Tops are like a cage for the shoulders. That's a video we have as well. And under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, when we talk about it, right, our top should just kind of like drop over our shoulders. And this one, this blue short sleeve button up is beautiful to be able to see that with, because it fits me really, really well as far as that, like, imagery being able to be seen. It's like it's just dropped onto my shoulders, and it just sits there and just kind of locks my body in place, centered, even from left to right, you know, out from the center at the shoulders. So that, I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? That's just the only way the human body works, is even on gravity of our earth. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not the elbow's fault, is the point. That's really the big point. And so then it's like, okay, well, now you have to know where to look. How am I going to get my elbows to have even extensions if I don't even know why they don't? And where is it coming from? Because you might not be thinking to look to your potentially uneven shoe tying, okay? And if you don't, then you can address your elbows for your entire life, and they will always continue to be uneven if you continue to tie your shoes unevenly or drawstring. So this is what I mean. It's the only fix. Clothing. There's no opinion, nothing to do with us having a clothing company for that being the case, but it's the only thing placed physically on us, and our body's just a physically operable thing on Earth. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. The elbow and the importance of even elbow extension. Left to right. Yeah. Okay. Anything, everything, all things we can talk about, anything we ever talk about at all in life under In The Image Clothing Company that could possibly be imbalancing the human body left to right, it'll go to things like that do have a full lock out. Okay, the knee has its screw home mechanism. It gets fully extended. The elbow, yeah, I mean, it has a complete full extension, okay? And it needs to be able to. So there you go. Okay, but even things like our video titled The Importance of Even Lat Insertions, okay, latissimus dorsi, okay? The muscle that gets pronounced differently depending on who you are, but down at the pelvis, right? In the very low back, it connects to the low vertebrae of the spine, meaning just the lowest part of the spine for a little ways there, and across the crest of our hips or the pelvis in the rear. You know, and I talk about it and then it comes up and connects to the rear of the upper arm up here. And so, yeah, you know, in the video there, I talked about how the lats will pull the body off to the right, and now you just don't have full extension at your right elbow because it's just not at your own side with gravity pulling down on it, okay? So this is what I mean. This is what we do, this is what we are, this is how it really is what it is. Okay, there you go. Full extension needs to be there in everything. I mean, that's essentially what quote-unquote posture is. I talk about how there's no such thing as posture. The human body is just designed by God to work, placed on the earth that he also designed. It's just going to know how to stand and stay on top of Earth's gravity vertical, using the least amount of energy that it can so that it can just do it efficiently, and having the whole body working all together. And so, yeah, right? That's really what posture is, if we're trying to talk about posture. It's not a real thing, really, but what it is, if we're trying to get to what we envision good posture as being, is having the body be able to have, in every joint, its full range of motion. Meaning, not just being able to move well like this in its range of motion, but complete lockouts. All the way closed at the elbow and all the way extended, okay, at the elbow. Otherwise, you can't have good posture because you'll be standing like this. Okay? Meaning if your elbow can't straighten all the way, well, if it's your right one, then your right foot will come out because it goes from your elbow up to your shoulder, from your shoulder into your spine, from your spine down to your hips will rotate, down to your foot, your feet will rotate, your arch will collapse on the right side, it'll go external just because an arch grips inward, okay? To keep the feet pointing forward, it would just have to. I mean, the hands and the feet, they're shaped the same. They're just about the exact same thing. So anyway, there you go, okay? The elbows need to be able to be even, left to right. And so we need to involve rounding, okay? I talked about it on In the Image Clothing Company music, but in the things we hold in our hands, the human hands are round. Oh, choking up, golly. Yeah, the human hands are round, and so, you know, we live in a modern world where things are so flat, and that'll go to our elbow, because in order to actually fully extend the elbow, we need